Welcome to the 24th Annual Miami Jewish Film Festival, one of the world's largest and oldest Jewish cultural art events. We want to thank all of our members, sponsors, community partners, volunteers, all of you film lovers, and especially our presenting sponsors, Center for the Advancement of Jewish Education, SAGE, and the Greater Miami Jewish Federation for their continued support throughout all these years. My name is Sandra Koifman. I am a psychologist and I currently work as a consultant and stress management and mindful living teacher. I am also a proud student and teacher for SAGE Adult Learning. I am so excited to be here today with Aviad Givon, I hope I pronounced it correctly, and Imri Matalon from the movie Broken Mirrors, which is premiering in this year's festival. Thank you for being here. And hello, Imrid and Aviad. So,
Hi to everyone. Hi, Sandra.
so I would like to start by saying I absolutely loved the movie. I enjoyed it and congratulations. It was amazing. It evoked so many strong emotions in me. And even after I finished watching the movie, I thought about so many of the scenes, the dialogues, the storyline, the location. So thank you for sharing that. So Aviat and Imrid, you are both writers, directors of this film. So you worked simultaneously and jointly as writers and directors in these films. And I would love you to share with us how was that experience of working together and how did this partnership develop? So, um, who
Okay,
wants?
Imre, you want to begin?
Yeah,
I
please.
begin. Okay. First of all, this movie started with a fall from a roof. We were in the final year of film studies, and I was shooting a movie for a classmate. I went. I went back on the roof, and with a camera on my shoulder, and didn't notice that the roof was over. And after that, I was lying in bed with a broken shoulder at home. And Aviad is a good man, and he came to visit me. And that's how we decided to start writing together, to start writing together and directing together this film. So working together was not easy. I can't lie. It's complicated because everyone has moments where he sees the picture only in his own way, but we were always on the same page about the story we want to tell. And the disagreements were just about small decisions uh, down the road. And the way to get through this was to plan as much as possible in advance and always remember that what is the what matters is the outcome and not our ego. And I think we are both not bad on doing so. So we remain friends and we help each other in our future projects.
And there was
Wonderful.
also, we had a rule that if someone doesn't agree with something, we have to change it until we both agree on it.
Did it happen often?
Yeah. I mean, we always changed everything until we both agreed. So we never went with something that only person agree on it.
That's
Good
a,
ideas can come from that.
it sounds it was
Third option. Yes.
a great partnership. Was a beautiful movie. So the movie presents a very powerful story. So I would love to know what was the inspiration behind the story of the movie.
So we had a few inspirations, and we actually started by writing another film, and we took the heroine from that film and put it into another story. So we started to build the story around the character, and the character is loosely based on someone that Imri knew is in his childhood. And we also threw in some other stories of mine and of Imri's to help make the story more deep and more lively. And it's actually a mixture of a few things, and I think that maybe Imri can tell a little bit about the background of his father, which is also somewhere in the film.
Okay. Imre would love to hear that.
Yeah, as Aviad just said, the idea of the film started, I think, for this film from the character of Ariella. There was a girl who was a good friend of mine when I was a teenager, and she had a very harsh and punishing father who would punish her for every mistake. And she got used to these punishments, and when he would not punish her, she would seek punishments. And I remember this experience very, very, very deep. And I spent many hours worrying about her. But her father was like, I'm sorry to say that, but he was a psychopath. And we will try to find a better character for the father in the film. And Giora character was a combination of her father and my father's character. Um, my father, following Yom Kippur War, my father suffered a very big trauma. It was not expressed in punishments or violence, but certainly made him a very very worried father. Um, and I think he was like the inspiration for the final version of Giora's character.
Because that's something that comes across his concern, his worry, but at the same time, the punishments, the orderly punishment. So thank you.
He thinks that he's fixing something, but he doesn't realize that he's breaking it.
Hmm. How it constantly keeps changing the performance, and I have so many questions about the story and all of that, which is amazing. So thank you for that answer. It's amazing. Um, Going back to inspirations, the movie title, Broken Mirrors. How did that come about?
Well, I think that it has something to do with these two characters of Giora and Ariela, which are reflection of each other, but in a broken way.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it has so many representations, that title. I love that. Thank you. So I'm gonna ask you before we go into the deep storyline, because there's so much to talk about the storyline. The scenes and the locations of the movie were just amazing. I'm thinking specifically about the beginning of the movie, how you set up this scene of the party that they go to, and the farm were so many that had so much meaning of the film. Can you tell us a little bit about how where it was filmed, the locations, and how you picked the specific places?
Well, it was actually scouted all over Israel, and we had shooting location in the north and in Tel Aviv and in near Bet Shemesh and in Jerusalem and all over the country. But we had a little time beforehand and we did some scouting ourselves, and yet we had a scouter to find the rest of the locations.
Okay.
We wanted the film to be with a very specific palette of colors that we wanted to reflect the army experience. So we were looking for very specific colors of green and brown. It has very it's very present in the views, in the landscapes,
Mhm.
and in the characters' clothes, in the art, in everything. And it was like a prisma that we were trying to look through through it. So the views picked up uh, with thinking about the colors.
S- And actually, it's a great segue for one of the questions that I had. And I was going to ask it later, the army theme. There's like an underlying theme, background, and in not even background, in strong army theme in the movie. Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yeah.
A great
Israeli
segue
men,
you just gave us.
yes, Israeli men face a lot. Being a warrior on the battlefield at the age of 18, it's very early, and especially the sensitive ones like us, I think, we need to go to therapy to take care after that. And unfortunately, this is not happening. Um, it's like it's a little bit shame to speak about those issues. So I think movies have the power to change that, or at least make people think and speak about that. And for me, show sensitive men crying, talking about emotions is almost an agenda. And Ben's character, for example, is such a man, uh, a new Israeli man, if you want. So I think me and Aviad, we were both warriors, and I think some of that exists in the film.
Mm, it showed. Aviad, you have anything to add for this army?
I think that we talked even to the the girl that made the costumes, and we asked her to make Ariella look as if she's a little of a soldier, because we wanted her to be a soldier of her father.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it did come across, and the transformation that comes in him at the end, what you just mentioned, that expression of emotions, which was amazing. There are so many themes that come across. We just talked about the army theme, but there's so many deep, meaningful, and powerful themes that you address in the movie, from family relationships to guilt, secrets, punishment, and forgiveness, which was something that came across. So, can both of you talk about those themes, how you came through and how you perceive them, please? Because it's such a powerful part of this movie.
Yeah.
I
So
think what matters most to me is the forgiveness thing.
Yes.
Uh, we want the viewers came out of the film with thoughts of forgiveness for themselves and others. I think the film doesn't end with forgiveness, but it ended with the hope of forgiveness that may come in the future. And I think when a child forgives his parent, it is different from an adult who forgives a friend, because when a boy forgives his parent, it is also for his own future. So when Ariella forgives her father, uh, it could reflect it could impact of her future.
Mhm.
So Aviad, do you want to add something?
Yeah, sure. First, I want to say that Ariella has to learn to forgive herself before she forgives her father. And I think that in order to forgive someone, you have to forgive yourself first. And also, we wanted to give a notion that when you live next to someone, you have to forgive them, and maybe to talk a little bit also about this country where we live next to people that we have to forgive them in order to live together.
Mhm.
One of the main theme of the film is that trauma it's actually it's like a virus, and it can pass from one to each other, and the only way or the only cure for it is forgiveness.
Mhm. Yeah, and the message comes across at the end. Like you say, it's an open-ended process of forgiveness, that open-ended journey that I think is what leaves us
Yeah,
that they both are going to go through. So it's
yeah, it's just
They
the
have some
beginning.
work to do.
Yeah, it's the beginning of the process.
the beginning of the process. So also the relationship, if you can talk a little bit about that, the relationship between the parents, the mom and the father, even before the accident, and how the mom was trying to position herself or not, and then as the accident happens, how it all changed. If you can talk a little bit about that.
I think the mother is between the two, between the father and the daughter,
Hmm.
and she's trying to please them both, and she's failing with both. Um, she does not confront the father, but yet she protects the girl.
Yes.
So she's in a very complex situation, and that's her mistake. Actually, that's her mistake. She doesn't take a stand. And in melodrama, when when you when you're talking about the melodrama structure, so in melodrama, there's always a character who pays a price to create a new order, and the new order will come after the father and the daughter will get better in their relationship. So that was a dramatic role.
Mhm. Gaviat, you would like to add anything to think?
I think we summed it up pretty much.
Okay, thank, thank you. The characters were amazing, and so wanted to ask you, and Shira Haas was just her, like you describe her fortitude and everything. It was just great. Would you talk a little bit about how you chose? That's not the right way. The casting is the right way for this movie because every single one of the characters was just amazing. Can you talk a little bit about that process of casting?
Okay,
About
so
okay.
we did.
Yes, Aviad. Go ahead, Aviad.
Yeah, we did. Before we shot the film, we did a teaser. So we already had Shira casted, and we spent 3 months looking for an actress. We made auditions for around 100 girls,
Oh, wow.
and when she came into the room, it was actually almost obvious that she's the one for the role. We still made a lot of audition, but she was in the back of our mind for a long time. And when we came to do the film, we already had like we already were certain that Giora and Ariela are already casted. So we had to cast the rest of the crew. And we can talk about each one of them individually, but I can say that each one of them was really obvious from day one that they will be perfect for the role.
Mhm.
Even the little girl, when we saw the video was sent to us, it was obvious that she can do that.
Yeah, and they were every character. Imri, you want to add something?
I want to add something about Shira. I think we saw more than 100 girls before we found her. And I think what we like about her, or like it's a small word, maybe what we love about her, is that Shira carries a lot of contrast within her. She's strong, but yet she's fragile, and she's nature but childish. She's confident and shy, and in a film like that, she has to carry it along the way with such a father. I think it was something that the contrast is very appealing to the viewer. So it was like Aviad said, it was the minute we saw her, it was clear to both of us that we found our Ariela, and it was very um, exciting.
Yeah, she's was all of them were amazing, and the way she portrayed that very difficult character, it was absolutely amazing. So, for both of you, I would love to know when you recall special moments while filming the movie, what comes up? Love to hear both of you those special times while this took place.
From the shooting,
Yes,
Good question.
of the shooting.
well, okay, the shooting it was actually pretty fast. We had about 20 days of shooting and just going all about the country. So there was a lot of experiences. Even we had an accident once where one of the
Twice.
crew members, twice, one of
Twice.
the crew member was rushing to the set, and she was hit by a car. Luckily, nothing happened to her. But we had a few incidents. We had one day canceled by rain, for example, and we had a lot of terrifying moments when doing the film, but it was mostly fun.
Would you be willing to share one of those terrifying moments?
Imre, you
I
wanna?
want, I want, you asked me, Sandra?
Both, either of you or both.
Aviad, do you want to continue?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, he mentioned, but if you feel comfortable, if not, it's okay.
I just I'm not going to talk about terrifying moment because I don't recall them now, but I do remember a very powerful moment for me. We were shooting in a fridge, a scene between Ariella and Seaton, one of the farm workers, and this is a very very difficult scene for shooting. We were in the fridge, just three crew members. I was there with the cameraman and with the Shira because we want to guard her from all the crew in such an moment, intimate moment. And Aviad was on the monitor, and she was acting uh, with the Yaakov Daniel Zada, the amazing Yaakov Daniel Zada from Fauda,
Mhm.
in one of the powerful scene of the film. And while she was acting and say the replicas, I was start crying like hell, like all the feelings that I collect through the years to the love from the love to my youth friend, thoughts about my father, everything like came to this specific moment, and I didn't want them to see me crying like a little child. So I was trying to hide myself um,
Wow.
behind the shooting script, and I knew at that moment I knew that me and Aviad did together something special.
Wow. Wow, something amazing. I didn't realize it was so short. So you, wow, you were going and at a very fast rate in this movie. A beautiful production. So we talked a little bit about the army theme, and I was just curious, going back a little bit to the film. The first scene is that teenage party scene that comes across. Is this typical of Israeli teenage society nowadays? I was just curious about that first scene. If you want to talk a little bit about that, Aviad, you're muted, Aviad.
Sorry, do you mean to have parties?
And that kind of party, the scene, the location, and everything. Yeah, well,
Actually, we found out that sometimes you can find parties in shelters because in Israel there is a shelter almost in every neighborhood. So, and these shelters are serving community places. So a lot of teenagers are partying in shelters.
oh wow,
Yeah, which is interesting.
it is
Was like
very.
that.
Yeah, and there was a scene in a shelter before the scene and we replaced it with a scene outside, but the first scene was in a shelter, in a bomb shelter.
And you replace that
Yeah.
to wow, that's interesting. Imri, you were gonna add something?
I think it's typical for the suburbians teenager, not for the cities maybe teenager, but in the suburbians there are some what we call parties, nature parties, parties outside, and we find that location while we did our trailer, like Aviad said before, and we really like this strange and big building that actually used for army exercises. So we decided to shoot there, and I think in Israel there are many different kind of teenagers. There are some teenagers that are more like reflected or inspired by American culture, and some of them more inspired by European culture. So in the suburbians, I think the people, we call it moshav, like it's like a little farms. I think they are more European in a way. Uh,
Um,
so
you have the,
yes, we have different culture in Israel about teenagers uh, in generally.
yeah, it was a very interesting, and immediately with that opening. So, wanted to ask you something about both of you. How did you come? You said you met in school. How did you develop this love for film and writing and story? A little bit about your personal backgrounds and experiences.
Abiad, you want to start?
Yeah.
Aviad?
I really started loving cinema before I even saw films. I was studying in a course for gifted children, and we made. I was 9 years old, and we made short films there. And then when I lived in Belgium, I went with my family for a whole month in England, in London, and my father bought a camera that he bought from New York, and I started playing with it, and I did two films with my family, my um nieces and my brothers, and that's when I realized that I want to do films.
Wow,
Yeah.
wonderful since young. How about you, Imri?
I went to the cinema first time when I was about 8. My mother took me to see a very famous Israeli film. It calls The Summer of Avia, and it's about an Holocaust survivor, which is not such a, um, a right content for 8 years old. So, and I was very amazed by I had a lot of impact by this film, this very powerful film, and I remember me sitting there in the dark hall, and something inside me knew just in that moment that I want to tell story to people, and it was like a life changer moment, and I just knew that I'm going to do movies. Uh, and my mother still very love films, so she gave me it's like a little present. She's a third generation for the Holocaust, so it was relate to the content of the film, and I think it's a little present for me the cinema loving.
You, and you both, they gave us a present to all of us film lovers with this movie. So amazing. What future projects are you both working on? You mentioned a little bit. If you want to share your future projects,
Okay.
Aviad?
So I'm working on a film of a group of girls that are fighting prostitution across Tel Aviv.
Wow, another powerful movie. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Mine is it's also a little bit it's a difficult film again, but it combined a romantic story. I'm writing about a very big love story between a, a, a girl in a wheelchair with a Palestinian therapist. Um, so I'm about ending the writing, and I hope it will soon shoot.
Wow, it sounds like another powerful, your meaningful stories that you're both giving us. I wanted to ask you one last question for both of you. I'm wondering if it's similar or different to both of you. What is the one takeaway that you want people to get out of the movie?
I think that the takeaway is that first you should learn to forgive yourself, and then you should look around yourself if there are people that you should forgive.
The powerful forgiveness, absolutely. Imri,
We think very similar about that. I can tell you that someday when we just ended one of the film production, uh, one of the viewer uh, came to me, and he told me that he will never punish his son again. And I think that was something that I even didn't expect, and it makes me very proud, and it was very powerful for me. Um, and I think this is something that I wanted people think about when they finish to see our film.
yeah, And I think there were so many lessons for us film goers in the mean. So grateful. Would for both of you, is there any final comments or thoughts that you would like to share with all of the film lovers who are watching us right now about this powerful, amazing movie, Broken Mirrors?
We just want to say to people, don't stop to go to the cinema to see films.
Mhm. We are still waiting to the cinema to the cinema will open in Israel because now they're all closed. So I just found myself in the last month uh, just missing sitting in the dark hall and watching a film. So we are just hoping and praying that it will be very soon.
Yes, and for both of you, again, thank you for this present that you gave all of us film lovers, because it was absolutely breathtaking and inspiring movie, full of meaning and lessons and life journeys. So thank you,
Thank you
Aviad.
very much, Sandra.
And thank you,
Thank
Imri,
you.
writers and directors for the movie Broken Mirrors. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you,
And
Sandra.
again, thank you to all of our members, sponsors, community partners, volunteers, and all of the film lovers. And again, especially to our presenting sponsors, the Center for the Advancement of Jewish Education and the Greater Miami Jewish Federation for their continued support. And thank you to all of the audience who have participated in the 24th Annual Jewish Film Festival. Pleasure having shared this moment with both of you, Imri.
very much.
Thank you.